Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Chestnut channel. With me once again is my friend Nathan Kring. He's in Milledgeville, Georgia, in the U.S., and he's been reciting Robert Burns' works. I think for the last year or so, maybe a little more. He's quite good at it, and I've been enjoying it. He's got the part. He's got the close. He's got the part very nice. He's going to do a piece called To a Mouse for us by Robert Burns. It takes place when Burns was plowing in the field, and he plows up the mouse's house, and he begins to find parallels between his life and the mouse's, and he apologizes to the mouse for the man's social problems, making it so that a mouse must run from us, basically. Thanks for being with us, Nathan.
You're welcome.
And could you do To a Mouse for us?
Of course.
Thank you.
Say a moose, on turning her up in her nest with a plough, November 1785. Wee, sleekit, cour and timbrous beastie, oh, what a panic's in thy breastie. Thou deedna start a wa so hasty with bicker and brattle. I would be laith to run and chase thee with murder and paddle. I'm truly sorry man's dominion has broken nature's social union, and justifies that ill opinion which makes thee startle at me, thy poor earth-born companion and fellow mortal. I doubt na wiles, but thou may thieve. What then, poor beastie? Thou mun live? A dame ecker in a thrave's a sma' request. I'll get a blessing with the lave and never miss it. Thy wee bit hoosie too in ruin. It's silly was the winds are strewin', and Nathan knew to beg a new one on foggage green, and bleak December winds ensuing, baith snail and keen. Thou saw the fields laid bare and waste, and weary winter coming fast, and cozy here beneath the blast thou thought to dwell, till crash! The cruel coulter passed out through thy cell. That wee bit heap o' leaves and stibble has cost thee money a weary nibble. Now thou's turned out for all thy trouble, but whoser hold to thole the winter's sleety dribble and cranach cold. But Moosey, thou art no thy lane, and proven foresight may be vain. The best laid schemes of mice and men gang after glee, and leave us nought but grief and pain for promised joy. Still, thou art blessed compared with me. The present only toucheth thee, but och, I backward cast my eye on prospects drear, and forward, though I canna see, I guess and fear.
Oh, thank you, Nathan. That was fantastic. I've been trying to decipher some of this for myself.
Essentially, he's plowing the field, he turns up a mouse's nest, and as the mouse is scurrying across the field, he has this great philosophical moment where he compares himself and he actually puts himself in the place of the mouse. And I think that's one of the things that endears people to Robert Burns, how he's such a keen observer of his environment and
Yes.
able to sympathize.
And he makes quite an observation that the mouse does not have to either look back on his past or face his future like a man does.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite a that's what I got from it, at least. I think that's very profound.
Yeah. One of the things I read as I was memorizing To a Mouse, I believe it was a person from Scotland. He said that he remembers his father reciting the poem from time to time, just as he was making his way through his day. And I thought, well, that's pretty neat. So when I learned the words to the poem, that's one part. But to know it by heart, where you can recite it on command, Nathan, To a Mouse, that it takes having something else to do is what I've found. For example, when I memorized Tam O'Shanter, sure, I had the words to it in less than 2 weeks. but I had to move around, for example, my environment when I'm at work, or, and of course when no one else is around, but or when I'm in my dwelling place and I'm by myself, I would just recite it as I was doing the dishes or whatever.
Yeah.
And it helped to ingrain it in my mind to such a point where, rapid fire, Nathan, do this poem, do that poem, and I can just spout them off while I'm doing something else.
Right. I can't imagine Tam O'Shanter. It is such a long, it is such a long piece. It's a fantastic one too, but even just to a mouse would be daunting for me, but I can see once you get into this, and you've got to love it. You've got to have a passion for it. I can see that you do.
I think it's fun. Tam O'Shanter is especially fun because it's such a thrilling tale. It's got comedy, it's got action, it's got suspense, it's got a little bit of terror in it. And
Yep.
and the chase scene is just so much fun, but the build up to the chase scene is fun as well. And I've actually recited Tam O'Shanter to a number of my coworkers on an individual basis mostly.
Yep.
But what I do is I'll pull up a comic strip that I found on the Scott's Who's website. It's a comic strip that has all the words to it, and it has pictures so that they can follow along with it. And I
Okay.
just tell them, hey, I'm practicing,
Yep.
and I'll describe that I'm practicing for burn supper, and I just want you to follow along with this comic strip while I recite.
Right.
And I'll stand up there and act it out, and they all get to the end of it and they go, wow, that was amazing.
Yep.
I think it's fun.
Yeah. Tam O'Shanter, everybody. That's about, it's really I don't know, I don't know what you call it, epic or what it is. It goes on so long and so many scenes.
Hmm.
It's incredible. But we don't have time for that one today. I know. I wish we did, but we'll come back for that, I hope. What about to a mountain daisy, Nathan? That one is also out in the fields as like to a mouse, is it not?
Yes, and I've heard that when he wrote to a mountain daisy that he had actually just had his heart broken, uh, a turnabout with a lover prospective wife, and he had just had a falling out, and I do not remember the name at the time,
Right.
but he was in kind of a low spot, and he's plowing his field, and he turns up a mountain daisy, and he kind of once again puts himself in the daisy's place. So,
Okay.
to a mountain daisy, on turning one up with a plow in April 1786. Wee, modest crimson-tippet flower, thou's met me in an evil hour, for I maun crush among the stour thy slender stem. To spare thee now is past my power, thou bonny gem. Alas, it's no thy neighbour sweet, the bonny lark, companion meet, bending thee mong the dewy wheat with speckled breast, when upward springing, blithe, to greet the purpling east. Cold blew the bitter biting north upon thy early humble birth, yet cheerfully thou glinted forth amid the storm, scarce reared above the parent earth thy tender form. The flaunting flowers our gardens yield, high sheltering woods and wa's maun shield, but thou beneath the random bield o' clod or stain, adorns the histy stibble field, unseen, alane. There, in thy scanty mantle clad, thy snowy bosom sunward spread, thou lifts thy unassuming head in humble guise. But now the share uptears thy bed, and low thou lies. Such is the fate, O artless maid, sweet floweret of the rural shade, by love's simplicity betrayed and guileless trust, till she, like thee, all soiled, is laid low in the dust. Such is the fate of simple bard, on life's rough ocean luckless starred, unskilful he to note the card of prudent lore, till billows rage and gales blow hard and whelm him over. Such fate to suffering worth is given, who long with wants and woes is striven, by human pride or cunning driven to misery's brink, till wrenched of every stay but heaven, he ruined sink. Even thou, who mourn'st the daisy's fate, that fate is thine, no distant date. Stern ruins plowshare drives elate, full on thy bloom, till crushed beneath the furrow's weight shall be thy doom. One of the things that I do when I embark on a study of one of his works is, of course, I will go to the internet and I will listen to native Scots speakers recite the poem. Cameron Goodall is a go-to for me, and I'd really like to dialogue with him at some point. I've actually reached out to him before, but I don't have any personal contact information for him, so leaving a comment on his videos is best I can do. There are a couple others that I really appreciate. However, when I get the gist of the poem, I will go to a book that I have that, of course, is a volume of works, and I will look at the punctuation and be sure that I get the punctuation. I try to abide by the punctuation. Like in the poem To a Mountain Daisy, he says, upward springing blithe to greet the purpling east. Blithe is separated by commas. And when you hear people online say it, they'll just run through that line like it's all one thought.
Okay.
And I think he's trying to make separate statements in that one line. That's just a little example of what I mean by adhering to the punctuation. In To a Mountain Daisy, there are a lot of lines that have exclamation points at the end. And a lot of native speakers will say the line like it's a dirge almost, when at the end of the line there's an exclamation point.
Okay.
And that's just, I try to stay as true to the original work as I can. Now, that's part of the reason why I faked the Scottish accent, because I want to promote Burns as Burns, not as Nathan Kring, look how talented I am, but I want to show how wonderful Burns' works are.
Well, you're helping me appreciate him. I'll tell you that, Nathan, and his works as well. Now I know he had a lot of struggles with farming and with women, and that shows so much in his words. And I appreciate the fact that you're trying to get his emotions to come through. An exclamation point means something. You're right. So does a comma, and etc. Knowing the words is one thing, and but I guess I would say delivering them in how you feel in your heart is the correct way. That's very admirable.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. It wasn't until we got back from Scotland in 2023 that I really grew to appreciate Burns. For example, when we were in Edinburgh in September 2023, I didn't know who Burns was. We were standing by the Burns Monument, and I'm like, who's this? And Virginia had to tell me.
Oh.
Well, while we were at our clan society's gathering, the clan vice president, he did the address to the haggis, and I had heard it once before, but I didn't really pay much attention. But when he did it, I was really focused in, and I basically was in the room by myself.
Yeah.
I was so focused on him, everyone else disappeared, and I thought, man, that is so masculine. And I didn't know poetry could be masculine.
Yep, I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
I'm a big guy, but I really latched onto that. And when I got back to the States, I said, I've got to learn that. So I set out to learn it. And Virginia would grade me when I would get home for the week from work. I would stand in the corner of the bedroom. I'd say, okay, I think I got it now. And I would say it, and she would give me little pointers. And it was just from there on, I just said, okay, what is this To a Mouse thing? And I think that was the second one I learned, or maybe it was My Heart's in the Highlands. But I kept adding to my list, and now Tam O'Shanter was number 10, and I've memorized Old Lang Syne since. So Old Lang Syne is number 11. So I'm up to 11 works now. My modest collection.
Well, I've learned that when Burns says address to something, he's really addressing it.
Yeah.
Whether it be an object or a person or anything, he means that when he uses that title, he means it, and other ones too, very much so. Now you mentioned the heart is in the Highlands. I see you're in the forest there. Where if you've seen my Tusknot channel, where I like to be many times, as many times as I can. Um, that's a great one that really speaks to me, Nathan.
Um,
What about yourself? I know you have a lot of wilderness down there where you live.
yes, of course. And I'm from the Appalachian area.
Mhm.
I grew up in East Tennessee, not far
Okay,
from the foothills of the Appalachians,
right.
and it's my happy place.
Yes,
Our family farm is in a pristine valley in Morgan County, Tennessee, and it's one of the places that I just love to be. In fact,
beautiful. Yeah.
if you look at my setup videos, like To a Mouse and My Heart's in the Highlands, where I'm standing in the woods or standing by an old barn, those are
Hmm.
filmed actually on my family's property up in Morgan County, Tennessee.
Ah.
And when I did My Heart's in the Highlands at Blairsville Games, the guy who introduced me was from Scotland, and he said something that I had never heard before, which made a lot of sense to me. So I'll try to recreate it here. He said, Burns loved the Highlands. He fell in love with the Highlands, and the My Heart's in the Highlands, it was his way of stating his love for the Highlands, and that rang true to me. In fact, I'll tell you a little bit behind the scenes. If you watch my video, My Heart's in the Highlands, where I'm in the woods by myself, I almost get choked up in the last verse of that poem. And you can tell because my cadence slows way down
Ah.
because I'm trying to keep my composure.
Huh. Wow.
And that happens on a lot of different poems. It's like a flood of emotion.
Yeah.
And sometimes the emotion, I can't really pinpoint what it is. Uh, and so sometimes I'll start laughing, like in Tam O'Shanter, you know, when he's watching the happening in the church, I'll sometimes get this flood of emotion and I'll just start laughing.
Ah.
And when I do My Heart's in the Highlands, I have to try to keep my composure.
Right.
But my heart's in the Heelands, my heart is not here. My heart's in the Heelands, a chasing the deer, chasing the wild deer and following the roe. My heart's in the Heelands, wherever I go. Farewell to the Heelands, farewell to the North, the birthplace of valor, the country of worth. Wherever I wander, wherever I rove, the hills of the Heelands, forever I love. Farewell to the mountains high covered with snow, farewell to the straths and green valleys below. Farewell to the forests and wild hanging woods, farewell to the torrents and loud pouring floods. My heart's in the Heelands, my heart is not here. My heart's in the Heelands, a chasing the deer, chasing the wild deer and following the roe. My heart's in the Heelands, wherever I go. See, the the poetry, it's not, it's like I said, it's not just look what I can memorize. It's a lot of heart into it,
Mhm.
and I don't know. A lot of people revere Burns as a genius. I think that he was just very self-aware. He was just
Yeah.
aware of what was going on around him, and he was sensitive to things that that a lot of times people overlook.
Right.
And I think that I can relate in some ways, and I think that's why I like his work so much.
Yeah. I can agree with that. I draw a lot of parallels from things I see and write about them sometimes. I think that's really what he did. You know, parallel of the mouse getting kicked out of his house by a landlord, that kind of a thing. The parallel of the rural young maiden being cast aside by someone more with more romantic experience on his way to another one. He might have been saying that kind of a thing, you know. Speaking of the mountain daisy, that is parallel there too, and there's countless parallels in what he does. I've been finding that. I'm sure that might be obvious to a scholar of Burns, but I'm really uncovering a lot of this stuff, and that's what I like to do here on the Touchshot channel. I hope a lot of people are following along with me. We're going to do some more Burns content this month, I hope. A few more poems with Nathan, and I'm going to try to just get into some more Burns life if I can, and cover what we can.
On the subject of To a Mountain Daisy, he gets, I don't want to say morbid because that's too strong of a term, but he goes to a somewhat dark place because the four last verses of that, you know, the maiden, such is the fate of artless maid, such is the fate of simple bard. The third one also, to such fate to suffering worth is given. And then even thou who mournst the daisy's fate. Yeah, he's just, it's like a dirge almost. And I can see how people can overlook those exclamation points. And that was one of the things that, one of the emotions that would come up in me when I was studying To a Mountain Daisy was that feeling of overwhelming sadness. You know, he had lost someone in his life, and anyone who's had their heart broken, they know that, you know, it's almost like a part of you dies. So I can see where he's coming from there.
Yeah, I can see in a field, plowing a field, you have so much time as well on your hands, literally, to mull words over and over in your head. When we get to Tam O'Shanter, there's quite a story about that, how he wrote that day and everything. So I want to go through that with you too. I don't want to miss that one because that's quite a little thing about how he composed that and why he composed that and when he did and all that. A lot of these places that he talks about, of course, all of them I would say are real places in his life. He made a lot of places landmarks, and they still are today, very famous landmarks.
Absolutely. Like the Brigadoon, where
yes,
Tam O'Shanter escapes. That bridge was set to be demolished, but they didn't. And when you look at it
yes,
on Google Earth, it's a bridge to woods. The road
amazing.
doesn't exist anymore.
But it's
You can go
Burns.
street view all the way up to the Keystane, but then you look ahead and it's just a forest.
Right. I think we only have a couple of minutes left, Nathan. I really want to thank you for coming out this morning and spending some time with us. This has been just fabulous, just amazing, and just what I wanted to portray and what to start out with our whole Burns. I don't know, I can't say month because we have a lot of time, you know, but Burns' birthday is on the 25th of January, so that's why I've decided to start this now. Maybe we could do a few things between now and then. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm happy to help. So
Well, I appreciate that. I'm so glad that you've discovered this part of your life and part of this within you and decided to share it with me, with all of us on the Touch Not.
I appreciate the opportunity because it's not like I can just strike up a conversation with anyone about how I feel about Robert Burns, you know?
Right.
So it's good to be able to unload some of this stuff out of my mind.
All right, fantastic. Well, we'll talk again soon, Nathan. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Touch Not.
Yes, sir. Touch not.
Thank you, everyone.